So Mike Norvell obviously couldn't do anything about the condition of the program when he took it over, not just from a facility standpoint and from a structural standpoint, but the vibe, the attitude, some of the negative stuff that was going on at that point. Can't do anything about COVID. He's hit with COVID in regards to the program and trying to relate to his players and, build a staff and build relationships and all that. Well, where would you rate? We can all look at the recruiting rankings, but you're not a big believer in that. But I am to a large extent. I think they play out. What has he done well? What has he not done well in recruiting? How should he attack recruiting differently than what you've seen?
I think he's doing very well now. I just think it's just you don't have the newness. You don't have the new car smell like what Florida has and what Miami. You only get the benefit of the doubt once. And he had that, but we had COVID, and I made these comments, and this is why I tell people you have to be careful who you listen to. A lot of terms like to be thrown around like reputables, and the only thing that makes you reputable is that you've been around. It's not the fact that you earn anything in your title, or that you chase. You go around and you wait till 3:00 in the morning to hopefully see a little kid come out of somewhere so you can snap a picture of him. I question when they brought in the staff, who are the Florida guys? Now, yeah, all right, Ron Dugan's, Odell Ingram, fine. Who else? This is a really massive state. Like, this isn't Arkansas, like where you could drive you could just, if I drove from Jacksonville to Pensacola, right, and I took that same distance from just Pensacola going out west, I would cross 3 states. Like, if I go from Jacksonville, if I wanted to go see Jay Peasy, driving down that way. If I go up, I'll go Georgia. I'll go 3 states: Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina. If I was overseas in Europe, I'd hit 3 countries. It's just you can't recruit it in one state, and then it's 3 different types of places. Pensacola is basically Alabama. Nobody knows what the hell goes on over there. Like, not in football world. Like, I can tell you everything about Miami football in Jacksonville. We scouted because we know when we're going to the playoffs, that's what you're going to see. We can't tell you about the team we're going to see in the 3rd round of the playoffs that's coming from the West. We forget that Pensacola is in Florida. It actually snows over there. It doesn't even make sense. It's a weird place. It is what it is. The Big Bend, Tallahassee area. Jacksonville, North Florida, way different. Central Florida, you get everything you want. You can get, Mouse World. You can get city folk. You can get country. Like, Polk County is very country. Then you have North Cuba, and it's a whole bunch of different languages and lingos, and you have to have people that can survive it.
I'm in North Cuba, right?
Yeah, you're in North Cuba. Okay. I'll say what Billy has done at the University of Florida and why he's having success is he's hired people that speak Florida. Mario Cristobal has done the same thing, even though he understands the culture, but he's done that. Mike came in with 2 guys and a bunch of other people that had 0 ties to Florida. And even though I like I can't think of his name. He's at Oregon now, but I like Coach Carlos Lachlan. But you hired a director of high school recruiting who had no ties to Florida, and that's where you're at. So his biggest mistake coming in was he completely neglected the state, and everybody's like, "Well, this is that," and you got rid of a popular guy in Telly Lockett, and that kind of. And whether you want to believe what Luke said and all that other stuff, it ain't been easy. It hasn't. We haven't gone in and gotten the guys. We the benefit of the doubt here, you missed that. So now then you don't win. You go 3-6 with a soft schedule. You go 5-7 when you probably should have at least been 7-5. Again, a soft schedule is nowhere near as hard as what we thought it would be. And that's kind of why you're in where you're at now. But I will say is what Mike has done a good job of, and when you really go and you talk to these recruits right now, is he has done a job of communicating what he wants to do. Now, what he has to do is take it from what I want to do in year 3 and actually do it. And if he does it, then you'll see him recruit. Because I am not of the belief that we hit panic mode yet when it comes to recruiting. When I think about the guys that we are in it for, that I think we get those guys. We're top 15 class. We're actually might be higher than top 15. We're 20 now. So that's what I think Mike has done a good job of, and he's done a good job of maybe too good of a job of giving his assistants rope, and that helps in recruiting. The thing that Florida State has really hurt us is that you had so much turnover in staff that it's just hard to continue to recruit like that. You had Jimbo, and Jimbo leaves, you get a new OC, new DC. Tad comes in, first OC leaves to go take a job for less money to be a head coach at some school in the Northeast. And so they got to get a new OC. That new OC brings a new O-line coach with a different strategy. And you're constantly recruiting these guys. So now they've done a good job. He's got guys that are relatable. Coach Alex Atkins balances youth and credibility better than anybody I've ever seen. He's not an old coach. But he also commands the respect of his players. And he has an eye for talent. He's completely flipped that offensive line room. People can say what they want to say about Dugans, but Dugans is respected. I don't like a lot of people talk about him, but the kids like Dugans. I talk about Keem Williams and people. I talk to a couple other people. The two names they bring up is Dugans. The Dugans and Mike Norvell. They don't bring up anybody else. And that's why they get that. I tell people, like, if you want to fire Dugans so bad, just say you don't want these 3 5-star recruits that we have a really, really good chance of landing if we show a competent offense. So those are the things that I think Mike does. But his biggest weakness is his loyalty. Anybody else would have made changes to the DC and the OC, even though I think he was smart at keeping the DC. But the offense, and I like Kenny, but the offense has been pedestrian. And he's an offensive guy. So it makes absolutely no sense why this is happening.
And I'm going to give a little bit of credit to when Jimbo Fisher first came in. James hit the nail on the head. Jimbo Fisher first came in. Jimbo Fisher was not a guy from the state of Florida. He was a guy from West Virginia. But he surrounded himself with assistant coaches who knew the state of Florida. His defensive coordinator was a former defensive coach at the University of Miami. Eddie Graham, when he came in, was a former recruiter from the Miami area. DJ Elliott was a former recruiter from the Miami area. James Coley is from Miami and then went to Florida State. So you had all those guys in there. I guess that would just be my one issue. And I know I focus on South Florida. I get it. I understand it. And I know where Miami is at right now. I just wish there was more of a tie on the coaching staff or in the recruiting office, not just to South Florida, but like the Tampa and Orlando area. Look at all those great recruits from South Florida.
So, I think they do. You got Kewan Ratliff, who's big in the 707, who's there. Mm-hmm. I think where they missed, they hired Gerard Ross, and Gerard Ross was one of the pioneers, because it feels weird because it's not that. Anyways, he was one of the original 707 gurus in the state of Florida. So, and they feel like a lot of the Miami guys know and respect them. Personally, this is what I would have went and did. The argument is what came first, the chicken or the egg? And what I mean by that is, you look at the University of Louisville and how well they're recruiting. And look at 2 hires that they made this year. One was a guy by the name of John Heron, a.k.a. Hole, who's been at Florida for years. He was at Florida State for a year, and then went back to Florida. But he has got no South Florida ties. And they hired a good teammate of mine, Boosie, a.k.a. Stanford Samuels II. And now look at what they're actually in on, South Florida guys. Mike has the relationship, but I think he kind of got hindered a little bit because Boosie wanted to coach. And he didn't give him the on-field job because he didn't have any on-field experience. So he went to FAU to get it with Tag. And then him and Tag kind of fell out a little bit, and he needed to go on somewhere else. Whereas he could have probably given that to Stanford, as opposed, specifically when the one guy left to go to Texas A&M with Jimbo. He could have probably given that to Stanford and probably had similar results to what you had right now. But you would have a guy, not just a guy who has South Florida ties, a guy who understands the language of recruiting. And I think people are, even in this NIL space, people are really missing that fact that relationships matter. Money is a motivator. It will always be a motivator. But can I trust that you're going to do what you say? Look at these guys. These guys are saying, people like Ruiz is already retracting some of the stuff that he's going to give with money. Can I trust that it's going to be okay when you tell me, yeah, you can tell me you can give me 6 figures. You can pledge 6 figures to me today. But are you going to really give me 6 figures, or I'm only get 15,000? And that's kind of where, and are you going to develop me to what my end goal is? The end goal for all of these guys at the end of the day is to get into the league. They have, I was about to say Paul Tagliabue. It just shows how I'm getting old, man. Roger Goodell. They have Roger Goodell call your name on a Saturday, on a Thursday, Friday, or Saturday, and have your mom crying, and you kiss the girlfriend that probably won't be there in 3 years, but she's happy that she thinks she got paid too. Like, that's the end goal.